Hi, I'm Dana, and this is going to be a two-parter because otherwise it's just really negative and a bit sad, to be honest with you. So today I'm going to do some of the least favourite parts of being autistic. Obviously, as always, it's just my experience and my thoughts and how I feel about things. It's not meant to be like a horribly negative thing. I will try to keep it like somewhat upbeat and not horribly depressing. But I think it's one of those things where I know that personally, a lot of the content I consume is very positive and it's very like, you can still be a person and learn things and do what you want to do while being autistic. I'm like, yeah, totally true. But sometimes it's still kind of fucking hard, isn't it? So this is just the stuff that I struggle with. This is the bits that I find hard. This is the stuff that, like, if I could wave a magic wand and get rid of certain elements of being autistic, these are the things I'd get rid of, you know? So getting into it, the very first one is kind of just an experience, but it's one that I've had so many times, and that's when I've been in some sort of social interaction. I've had a friendship group, there's been a general, I'm a part of these people, and then something happens and I'm like, I've missed something. I've missed some sort of social cue, I've missed some sort of bit of context. I perhaps like don't know everyone as well as everyone else does. Like, there's something going on and I know that there's something going on, but I have no idea what it is. I don't have the clues and hints that I need to even begin figuring it out. I do not know what's going on. And the main reason that that really annoys and frustrates me is because I feel like that's something that happens to anybody at some point. But as an autistic person, I've had it happen repeatedly. And people have always done the thing of like, well, learn from it. Learn from this experience. Learn from what you did. And I'm there like, please, I'm begging you to tell me what the shit is going on. I don't know what I did. I don't understand what I missed or what I didn't miss or what I added, or like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why everyone's mad at each other or at me or just at some other person. Like, I don't know what is happening socially. And I'm supposed to learn from it to make sure that it doesn't repeat. But I can't learn from something that I absolutely have no understanding of. I have no concept. I don't even have concepts of a concept, you know? Like, I don't have a clue. I have no idea. And I'm somehow supposed to figure it out and learn from it and not do it again without anybody telling me what it is. And especially the amount of times that I've heard people do, they're like, you know what you did, you know what you said, you know what happened, and like, I don't have a clue. I was sat there and suddenly you were mad. Like, I don't know what's happening and I won't be able to learn from this because no one's giving me the fucking context that I need to be able to learn from it. And I will give, that's one that like depends massively on the people, because there's been a whole bunch of times that I've definitely not done fucking anything and it's their own issue. But anyway, moving on. The next one is by far the thing that annoys me most about being autistic and the thing that I wish the most I could just make go away, which is if I've had a good day out, I've gone out and done something that I was a bit anxious about, I've just generally spent time with friends, I've gone out to a new place, I've done something, you know, I've had an actively pleasant time, I'm in a good mood, I'm like, that was a good day, this is one for the memory banks, you know, like this was a good time. And I get home and we have one of two options. Either I have a full crying, can't control myself, shaking, feel awful, exhaust myself meltdown that I cannot control. I come up to my room and I'm like, oh, that was a lovely time. And the moment I'm settled and unmasked, meltdown. I can't control it. And that has been my entire life. Almost every day of school I had a meltdown over something or another. Like, literally just having a good time overwhelms me to the same degree as having a bad time and just puts me into a meltdown. And I can't do shit all about it. It's just what happens. Option number 2 is the one that I've been having happen a bit more often recently, which is I'm completely fine emotionally. Mentally, I'm all good. I had a lovely night. I had a lovely time. I had a lovely day. Physically, I'm filled with the adrenaline of having just existed as a person and had a nice time, and I'm sat there shivering uncontrollably, shaking my entire body, and I can't like relax the muscles of my torso. Like, I can't relax any of my muscles, but I don't notice as much in my like extremities, but like my chest and my stomach and like my entire torso is so tight that it hurts. Like, it's just so tense and I can't physically make myself relax. I just sit there shaking and shivering and feeling physically like really fucked up and weird. I can't do anything about it. That's just what happens if I have a nice fucking time. And it is so annoying. And it's one of those where like, even if the nice time didn't tire me out, which like it often does. Like being around people, as much as I can have a lovely time and really enjoy it, and I do think it's like a necessary part of existing as a person, it can really fucking exhaust me, you know? And to then have the extra exhaustion of either having a full-on meltdown or not being able to like control my own body and having it just like, you know, like the day after a meltdown, I'm mentally exhausted. The day after like the adrenaline shaky thing that I get, I'm physically exhausted. Like there's no fucking winning. In one way or another, I'm gonna need a hell of a lot of recovery time, because it just, even having a nice time just screws me up. This next one's one that I normally think of a bit more when I'm talking about how societal pressures and issues make it more difficult for me to exist as an autistic person. And it's the kind of thing that isn't necessarily because of me being autistic, but also is, you'll get it, it's the whole thing of everyone having their own expectations of what I'm going to be like and what I'm capable of and what my skills will be and everything else, based on their own very individualistic and small experience of autism. I'm very aware that that is how we build our knowledge on things. We build our knowledge and we learn from our experiences. You know, like it's not something that necessarily like annoys me with the individual that I like despise in a person. Like I get it, you're doing your best to understand and you're using your experiences to do so. That's how we exist as people. But the thing with it is, they are so often basing those expectations on like a nephew, a niece, a younger sibling, and a nephew, like so on and so forth, you know? Like they're basing it on a very young person, often with quite high support needs. So immediately off the bat, upon meeting me, they're like, oh, you're capable of so much. It's like you're barely autistic. You're like so good at things. And the more that they see my autism and the way that my autistic traits represent and the things that I'm capable of, the more they just treat me like I am the person they know that's autistic. And like I say, a lot of the time, that's a fucking child. And I, unfortunately, I'm not a fucking child. And similarly, there's a lot of people who don't have their own individual experience of like knowing an autistic person or being around autistic people, and they so often then base their knowledge on what they think's the right thing to do based on stereotypes, which again, you're basing it on what you know. Like I get it, I don't think it's like a horrible shitty thing for people to do. You're doing your best with what you have. It's just that what you have isn't the best. So all of a sudden they're basing a whole load of stereotypes around me and be like, oh my god, you don't like trains? And like, no, I don't, I like Doctor Who. Like, I think the too long didn't read for that is that people just base a lot of expectations on me based on what they know or what they think they know, and then I don't fit into those expectations, and it can be very awkward and uncomfortable, and I've been made to feel like quite invalidated and like I'm like being autistic wrong or something by neurotypical people that just don't really understand that I'm my own little brand of autism. I'm not going to be like your nephew or your cousin or whoever else. Now the next one's just a bit of an annoyance, but it is one of my least favourite parts of being autistic, and that's when I'm going about my day, I'm going about my life, and I'm in a horrible fucking mood. I'm just having a horrible time. I don't feel good. Nothing's bringing me any sort of joy. Nothing feels okay. I'm anxious. I have this like ball in my stomach. Just nothing feels right. And I feel really on edge. And it's absolutely horrible. And for the longest time, I was like, this is a part of my anxiety. That's just something I'm going to have to like learn to cope with. And it isn't. It's fucking sensory issues. And it's just taken me like 26 years to realise that's what's happening. So I'll be going about having a horrible fucking time, having a horrible day, being in a horrible mood, and then I'll take off my socks, I'll take off my jumper, I'll put a jumper on, changing my temperature, changing the lighting that I'm with, changing the noise levels of the place that I'm in. 99% of the time that will solve my bad mood. That will solve it. I will suddenly feel fine. I'm suddenly not anxious anymore. I don't have this ball in the pit of my stomach. I don't feel like everything's wrong. I was just a little bit too hot or a little bit too cold, or it was a little bit loud, or it was a little bit too bright. Like, it's such an easy, simple fix 90% of the time. And it's so difficult to tell what it is that's going on that's making me feel like I'm in this horrible mood. And there's also the 10% of the time that like, I'm in a bad fucking mood. I'm a person. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's no external force that's putting me in the mood. But all of a sudden I'm there like taking my socks off and putting my socks back on and putting a jacket on, taking it back off and turning the light off and turning it back on, because I can't figure out why I'm in a bad mood. But it's not always a sensory issue, but it oftentimes is. I don't know when it's going to be which. I just have to like adjust my sensory surroundings and hope that that solves it. Like, that really is more of like a pet peeve than all the others, but it's the type of thing that can like really affect my day and my mental health and my general well-being and how I feel. And it's such an incredibly simple fix once I know what the fix is. Just finding the fix is so hard. Now, this ties kind of back to my first point a little bit, but not too much. Like, it doesn't tie back enough that it can't be its own separate point. But one of the, like, it's also worth noting, I don't mind being autistic. Like, it's not one of those things that's, like, constantly on my mind. I'm like, oh, I hate being autistic. This sucks and this sucks and this sucks. I just try to deal with things and live my life and be a person, you know? But when I really, like, do think about it and, like, contemplate on the way that being autistic has affected my life, especially while I was undiagnosed and couldn't, like, adjust or cater to myself at all, I do find myself thinking about friendships that I either never even got to make, you know, the people that I met and had some degree of a connection with and was like, oh, I really like them. And then due to my own, like, lack of social skills, due to not knowing how to, like, put myself out there, how to, like, interact with people, how to build friendships and stuff, I just never made friends with them. Like, we probably could have been really good friends. We had really similar personalities. There was a really good connection between us. And I just didn't know how to do it, so I didn't. So I never made that friendship. I never got to have that friend. And, like, yeah, it's entirely hypothetical. Maybe I would have, even if I'd put myself out there and messaged them and done whatever the fuck it is you're meant to do to make friends, maybe it wouldn't have happened still. But maybe it would. I could have had a really great friendship. And I didn't, just because I'm awkward, you know? And also the friendships that I've lost just because I'm awkward and I don't get the social cues. I don't know the right social thing to say in the moment or whatever else. Now, a lot of my friendships, looking back, I am like, you were just being mean. Like, that wasn't a me issue. You can say it is all you like. You can pretend that I did this and that. But, like, no. But then I do have the odd friendship where they told me why they didn't want to be my friend anymore. And I've sat there and been like, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't intend it in that way. I didn't do it with that intention. I didn't mean for it to be like that. But I completely see how, like, my behaviour upset you. The way that I've treated you upset you. Like, fair enough, you know? And that always sucks. It's always really hard. And I appreciate that they told me about it and that I've been able to apologise and that I can actually use it as a learning thing and be like, oh, I do this thing without even realising it. I'm going to realise and notice it and not do it now. And obviously, everybody has times that they fuck up in these friendships. But it does feel, you know, I don't want to, like, be like, I lost those friendships because I was autistic and it wasn't my fault. Because, like, it was me. It's, you know, whether it's an autistic trait or not, it's still me as a person. But I also, you know, in some weird parallel universe where I'm not autistic, probably didn't lose those specific friendships that I think of when I think of that, you know? And my final one is a biggie, which is just how unnecessarily difficult so many parts of daily life are. Just because they are. They don't need to be. They don't have to be. You know, like when I go to supermarkets and they're super loud and bright, they don't have to be like that. You know, I'm not asking for silence and darkness. I'm asking you to turn the fucking horrible beeping tills off and not have horrible glaring fluorescent lights. I think most people's shopping experience would be improved by those things, not just autistic people's. But all of a sudden, it wouldn't be a horrible, stressful thing that I, like, have to force myself to do and get really anxious about and get really overwhelmed by and have to, like, deal with, you know? Like, I would be able to go and shop in the way that everybody else does right now. And yeah, I'm still going to get a bit overwhelmed by, like, how many choices there are and figuring out what it is I need to get and so on. But I'm not going to be getting stressed about that while there's a load of beeping and the lights are too bright and I can't fucking focus on anything, you know? Even just doctors' offices, hospitals, buses, train stations, just so many standard places that you go to in your day-to-day life are way too fucking bright for me. And like I say, I'm not asking everyone to live in dimness. I'm not asking you to, like, completely turn the lights off. But they just don't need to be these glaring, bright, white, fluorescent lights that they are, you know? We could very easily, as a society, just have slightly less horrible lighting, and so many of my day-to-day things would be so much easier, but we don't. And, like, even to the point where I had to go to, like, a autism group thing at the job centre, and there were multiple days that I was like, I physically cannot deal with sitting in this room with that fluorescent light. Like, can we turn the lights off? Can we turn the lights down? Like, you are specifically having a group for autistic people in a room with, like, the world's worst lighting. And they couldn't physically turn the lights off. Like, the building didn't allow them to turn off the lights in that room. You know, like, if someone's in that room, the lights are on. That's just how the building works. And I was like, I can't be in here. You know, like, I know they didn't, like, specifically set it up for me, but they did specifically set it up for autistic people, and I can't handle the lighting. Like, there's so many ways that we could make everywhere more accessible for a whole fucking host of people, you know? Like, as someone with a best friend who's a wheelchair user, I get real pissed off about that type of accessibility too. But especially when it comes to accessibility for autistic people, it would be so easy, and places just don't do it, or they do it for, like, 1 hour at 6 a.m. on a Friday. Like, there's just so many accommodations that could be made that would be minimal accommodations, that would just be a new type of normal, that really wouldn't even be accommodations. Like, they would, but they wouldn't, if you get what I mean, because it wouldn't make a difference to anybody that doesn't need it. For the people that just don't notice those things anyway, they probably would continue to not notice. It would be so easy to change, and my life would be easier, and probably lots of other autistic people's lives. And we just don't. It just stays hard. Like, okay, thanks. So yeah, that's my final little point. That was the video. Those are my least favourite parts of being autistic. I definitely could have gotten darker and more depressing and more like horrible about it, you know, but I just don't think there's any point. I don't think that's going to change anything, you know? Like, having a little laugh and giggle and relating over the things that I don't overly enjoy and things that I would like to change a little bit if I can is very different to being like, I despise this entire part of myself, you know? Like, we don't need to go down that road. I don't want like autistic self-hatred going on here. I think people should learn to love themselves as much as we can, and that's the path that I'm on. You know, I'm trying my fucking best. It's not going so well, but I'm trying real hard. So like, these are my least favourite things, and they're things that I would like to find ways to like accommodate and work around and stuff. But I just don't see being autistic as like a horribly negative thing. It's just a wee part of who I am. And sure, there's some like extra struggles and stuff in the world, but this is the way I am. It's not gonna change. There's no point in getting super depressy about it, you know? But I hope that people have been able to find this a little bit relatable. As always, if you wanted to comment with any thoughts that you've had while watching this, what your least favourite parts of being autistic are, if you have any accommodations for the things that I've brought up and what you do to get around them, I'm always looking for new suggestions. Obviously, like, it's one of those things where I feel really mean sometimes when I don't use someone's suggestion, but I'm also like, we're all different, and sometimes that just ain't the thing that's going to work for me, but I'm really glad that it works for you, you know? But yeah, that's the end of this video. So, like and subscribe if you want to. That's meant to help me in the algorithm and help me like be a real YouTuber and stuff, I don't know. You can also follow me over on TikTok or Instagram. They'll both be linked down below if you want to see more content from Lil Old Me. I don't post that much, I won't lie, but I would like to post more regularly. I'm getting around to it, I'm doing it, I'm trying really hard. So you can follow me there. You can also follow me over on Patreon if you would like to help support me financially, and you get early content and it's a fun little time. And if you wanted to do a one-time little donation, you can also go over and do that on Ko-fi. But there's never any pressure. The whole point of posting on YouTube is that you get free content. I don't want you to have to pay for it, you know, like the point is that it's free. So do what you will. Everything will be linked down below. It's entirely up to you. And I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a couple of days.